Welcome everybody. Tonight's show, it comes with a heavy heart. Things have happened in the last few days here. I thought it necessary to address a few things, like a brief history of slavery and the origins of American policing. Where did the police come from? Many people would like to know. Well, tonight I'm going to give you a brief history of the police and why it is imperative that we not trust them. Yeah, I know it's some people in blue, boys in blue may hear this recording, but I'm not going to change it. Why we should not trust the police. Okay. This article I'm going to read to you guys was written by Victor E. Kapler, PhD, Associate Dean and Foundation Professor, School of Justice Studies, Eastern Kentucky University. But first, before I do that, I'd like to give a shout out to everybody who have lost family from the police violence. Shout out to my brother who lost his life in that attack on the police. I know that a lot of people are trying to demonize him right now, but as a soldier, they were trained to protect those they care about. And unfortunately for that brother Michael Johnson, he chose to go out like this, random killings of police. I don't think it was a good idea for him to do that, but I do understand the frustration when you see people getting killed over and over again, and we get a Facebook live video with a brother getting shot who actually was getting stopped from a broken tail light, brothers in Missouri, and the girlfriend took a video from Facebook Live and filmed the thing with the police actually have shoot him. He shot him actually 5 times, and the brother died at the hospital later on. They didn't offer him any kind of support, CPR, any kind of like pressure on the wound. They treat him like dogs. So tonight, I'm going to give you a history of the police and why you can't trust them. Before I do that, anybody out there want to make a donation to the show, you can go to www.bayareablack.org. That's www.bayareablack.org. You can hit us on Facebook, the Bay Area Black Community, like our page, and you can follow us on Twitter. I have to be requested at Bay Area Black on Twitter. Now, let me read you this article so you can be for sure that the feelings we have toward the police are actually very, very well founded. Now, the birth and development of the American police can be traced to a multitude of historical, legal, and political economic conditions. The institution of slavery and the control of minorities, however, were two of the more formidable historic features of American society, shaping early policing. It was called slave patrols back then, family. Slave patrols and night watches, which later became modern police departments, were both designed to control the behaviors of minorities. For example, New England settlers appointed Indian constables to police Native Americans in 95. The St. Louis police were founded to protect residents from Native Americans in that frontier city. And many Southern police departments began as slave patrols. In 1704, the colony of Carolina developed the nation's first slave patrol. Slave patrols helped to maintain the economic order and to assist the wealthy landowners in recovering and punishing slaves who essentially were considered property. Okay? Remember that. I'm going to read that again. Slave patrols helped to maintain the economic order and to assist the wealthy landowners in recovering and punishing slaves who essentially were considered property. Policing was not the only social institution enmeshed in slavery. Slavery was fully institutionalized in the American economic and legal order, with laws being enacted at both the state and national divisions of government. Virginia, for example, enacted more than 130 slave statutes between 1689 and 1865. Slavery and the abuse of people of color, however, was not merely a Southern affair, as many have been taught to believe. Connecticut, New York, and other colonies enacted laws to criminalize and control slaves. Congress also passed fugitive slave laws. This is Congress. They passed fugitive slave laws, laws allowing the detention and return of escaped slaves in 1793 and 1850. As Turner, Giacopassi, and Vandiver in 2006, 186, okay, that's the page number, remarked, the literature clearly establishes that a legally sanctioned law enforcement system existed in America before the Civil War for the express purpose of controlling the slave population. So basically, they're trying to tell you that they had established a legally sanctioned law enforcement system, you guys, which existed in America before the Civil War. Okay? Before the Civil War. For the express purpose of controlling the slave population and protecting the interests of slave owners. The similarities between the slave patrols and modern American policing are too salient to dismiss or ignore. Hence, the slave patrol should be considered a forerunner of modern American law enforcement. The legacy of slavery and racism did not end after the Civil War. In fact, it can be argued that extreme violence against people of color, black folks, became even worse with the rise of vigilante groups who resisted Reconstruction. Because vigilantes by definition have no external restraints, lynch mobs had a justified reputation for hanging minorities first and asking questions later. I'm going to pause right here for you for a minute. Vigilantes, white folks running around calling themselves militias, KKK members, white supremacy groups, were forming lynch mobs, and it was justified hanging our people, Indians and black folks, okay, back in the day. Because of its tradition of slavery, which rested on the racist rationalization that blacks were subhuman, America had a long and shameful history of mistreating people of color long after the end of the Civil War. Perhaps the most infamous American vigilante group, the KKK, Ku Klux Klan, started in the 1860s, was notorious for assaulting and lynching black men for transgressions that would not be considered crimes at all had a white man committed them. Sound familiar about the police today? Lynching occurred across the entire country, the entire county, not just in the South. I'll say country. I think they missed a typo. Okay, country, I'll say, yeah. Finally, in 1871, Congress passed the Ku Klux Klan Act, which prohibited state actors from violating the civil rights of all citizens, in part because of law enforcement's involvement with the infamous group. You hear that? Law enforcement was involved with the KKK. They knew this in 1871. Okay? This legislation, however, did not stem the tide of racial or ethnic abuse that persisted well in the 1960s. So why didn't it stem the tide? Its entire system involved in population control for black people, economical disenfranchisement of black people to make sure we stay in our place. Notice that nothing so far is discussed anything about crime. Okay? Now, though having white skin did not prevent discrimination in America, being white undoubtedly made it easier for ethnic minorities to assimilate into the mainstream of America. The additional burden of racism has made that transition much more difficult for those whose skin is black, brown, red, or yellow. In no small part because of the tradition of slavery, blacks have long been targets of abuse. The use of patrols to capture runaway slaves was one of the precursors of formal police forces, okay? Especially in the South. This disastrous legacy persisted as an element of the police role even after the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. In some cases, police harassment simply meant people of African descent were more likely to be stopped and questioned by the police. While at the other extreme, they have suffered beatings, even murder at the hands of white police. Questions still arise today about the disproportionately high numbers of people of African descent killed, beaten, and arrested by police in major urban cities of America. Now, not to bore you too much on that, but I had to give you some information on that. I'll be putting a link in the YouTube channel. You want to look it up and read it for yourself? It'll be the link in the description box. Any comments and questions, you guys can actually go through YouTube. This is pre-recorded tonight because I'm actually taking care of some serious urgent business right now, but I want to make sure you guys got your broadcast tonight. And just listen, guys. This is serious. It's not going to stop. I got family, got friends who big in the political arena, but I'm going to tell you, it goes way back. Everybody has an invested interest in locking up and killing black folks. I'm sorry to tell you the truth. Even Congress, even everybody you consider yourself maybe political or whatever, everybody has an invested interest in locking up our people and killing our people. For one, keep the numbers of black men down. Therefore, the families are still off balance. You don't have a strong man in the house. You have more effeminate men growing up. You have more masculine women growing up because there's no male to balance it out in the household. So they kill them when they're young. They can't vote to overturn certain things. They get felonies. They figure they can't vote either. Although nobody can really track you if you're a felony or not. You can still vote. But anyway, it's something else. There's just ways to keep our population down and keep us disheartened, keep us in fear and lacking courage. Now, what you're seeing now is an upbeat uprising because of President Obama in office is a black man, and they're angry about that. So we're taking the heat for whatever President Obama being in office. Unfortunately for him, he's in a big pickle because he can't say too much because probably for fear of being assassinated like JFK was, okay, or even other things happen to his family. That's neither here nor there. People might not believe. The system is really powerful. But the problem with that is, as a group, family, we got to get together, stick together, and do things as a group. We cannot expect to be treated respectfully in this country as long as we're divided. They want us to stay divided, okay? That's a given. The longer you divide it, the more they can pick us off one by one. But we come together and have a strong community, they can't hurt us like that. This is the reason why the Black Panthers ended up getting formed. They want to They want to vitalize this brother who killed those policemen. I think he was a normal guy who just got tired. He just didn't know what to do. 25-year-old young man, a lot of the service tours in Afghanistan and whatnot. There's a lot of young men out there with a lot of talent, and they're angry, and nobody's getting them, pulling them to the side and actually showing them how to do things another way. So they're going out there lashing out, and I'm hoping that we could be more focused in the future about who we target, about the issues of mistrust and issues of disrespect and brutality suffered by the hands of police and other officials. We have to be smarter, family. We got to be more targeted, more focused. You can't just go out there just busting your gun, shooting random white folks. That'll never work. They'll just look at it just like we crazy. Now, unfortunately, I'm not condoning it, but unfortunately, had he destroyed or put somebody to sleep who had direct involvement in the killings of our black men, then that would send a message. That would actually do something, because unfortunately, every man on the police force ain't gonna feel like there is any penalty by killing black people, because it's not targeted directly. If somebody stepped up and actually put somebody to sleep who was doing us bodily harm directly, that would send a message. Because you know why? Every man bleeds red. I don't care what color you are, you bleed red. And these guys in blue who come to your door and telling you to get out the car and shake you down, beat you up, kill us, they're not in fear, because nobody knows where they live. They feel like they got the power of the government behind them, which they do. Power of the police force union behind them, which they do. But nobody's taking actual direct responsibility for what they're doing to our people. For example, George Zimmerman. How is he still walking around? He is, though. Bragging about it, made over $200,000 on selling the gun that killed Trayvon Martin like he was killing some kind of big game animal. And this government lets that ride under President Obama's watch, our first black president. So you can only imagine what's going to happen when President Obama get out of office next year. I'm telling you, folks, if you get to the end of this audio, get ready, because it's coming. It's coming down the pipe. Whether you're ready or not, it's coming. So what you going to do? That's something for you to decide, family. So I'm going to leave you with that information. And everybody be careful, be safe out there. Also, before I go, make sure, save your money up, get you a video camera for your car. Every black man that drives needs to have a video camera in his car. Anytime you get stopped by the police, you need to put that video camera on you, between you and that officer, to make sure somebody can find out what really happened. You're not going to always be able to use a cell phone. You should have a video recorder going on your car. I have one. You should have one. So, family, Godspeed. Be careful on the streets. We love you guys. And let's build a better future for ourselves. But we got to do it fighting. We can't do it staying down. We can't do it just praying on our knees. It don't work that way. I'm sorry. Some of you Christians out there believe it works that way. No, it don't. I'm sorry. Bust your bubble. They want you to sit there and pray, and that's it. You got to pray with your feet this time, family. 400 years of slavery, many grueling deaths and tortures. Those people prayed the entire time. Don't try to tell me by praying alone is going to get something done. Even the Bible say faith without works is dead. So stop begging the master to treat you better. It ain't going to happen. You can march in the streets and all that to just give them attention. Seek power, not attention. And perhaps we'll get somewhere before we all go in the ground. Good night, family. God bless you. Make better decisions. West Coast Wolf out.